Welcome, everyone, for this very special event that Good Trouble goes on. And today is the anniversary of John Lewis's death. And just as an aside, that tomorrow is Nelson Mandela Day. So we are 2 days in a row. We have great leaders who have shown us how to resist and how to move forward. So I would like to begin with a small tribute to John Lewis and his life.
Was something deep down within me, moving me, that I could no longer be satisfied or go along with an evil system.
Life was extremely dangerous when we were growing up. John Lewis had the respect of everybody because he was the one who demonstrated the most courage. He'd been beaten and knocked down and get up and go to find another battle. John was focused on ending voter suppression, and it wasn't that he was a great orator, it's that he was a great spirit. The power of spirituality and humility, and the willingness to suffer rather than to inflict suffering.
One of the things that John has taught us is that, yeah, you may have to sacrifice, but if you're sacrificing for a cause, something bigger than you, and you really believe in it, then you will have people following you.
We do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham.
I think he is the singular figure that has tried to carry out the work of our nonviolent campaigns into the halls of Congress.
From day one, John Lewis was a role model for the members of Congress, whether they were freshmen or here a long time, because he brought with him a kind of heft, a weightiness of purpose.
I got arrested a few times during the 60s. 40 times. And since I've been in Congress, another 5 times. The means by which we struggle must be consistent with the end we seek.
Someone who has navigated thorny issues of policy, not by castigating alone, but by also encouraging people to be better than they think they can be.
Today we are considering a fair housing measure which not only protects our nation's minorities, but it protects the needs of those with disabilities and families with children. How long do we have to wait before we decide to ban assault weapons? We have another opportunity to bring more of our citizens into political participation. I have on my marching shoes. That's right. I'm fired up. I'm ready to march.
And all of these decades later, while he and others of his generation achieved much, we're still fighting against police brutality and fighting for our voting rights. And so we best honor him by continuing to fight the good fights that he fought, by staying in good trouble.
Together, let's fight for what's right, no matter how long or how dark the night.
We
will create the beloved community. We will redeem the soul of America. As a nation and as a people, we will get there.
Climb to the mountain top, and one day we'll win together.
All right. John Lewis was a great man, and he did a lot of great things, but he didn't do anything that we can't do. We can all do what he did. We can fight for our rights, we can resist, and we can make a difference in this world and bring our own nation back to some semblance of order, and just to make it much better than it was before, and to eliminate these fascist, authoritarian, racist that are running our government right now. And I mean eliminate by just get rid of them. I want right now, I just want to say, I have been feeling through this whole time, I've been feeling kind of sad and mostly angry. And what I'd like to know actually for to everyone is I'm going to put this link in the chat. It's something called a Mentimeter, and it gives you an opportunity to, it's the question that it's going to ask is, how have you been feeling? And you have an opportunity to click this link and then input your feelings into this link. And I hope that you do so, because honestly, I'm going to do this myself too. I hope everyone on the panel will also do it. Because I think it's important that we know that other people are feeling the same way that we do, and that we're not alone. Because that's sometimes, and I know I'm surrounded by Americans. I'm a part of the military community. I mean, my husband is American, my friends are American, but sometimes it feels very lonely. So please let it show us how you feel and what's going on in your heart. Because I am definitely angry, I am sad, and I am also motivated.
Yeah, I'm determined, devastated, and angry.
Okay. Let's see what kind of results we're getting. Let me just open up the results, and I'll show them on the screen. Oh, okay. Let me share my screen and see, so you can all see what other people are saying, because I think it's important. It's important to know what other people are feeling.
That's really fascinating. Determined. All right, guys. We're all in the right place.
Yeah, grieving, scared.
Yeah, I put determined. Come on.
Yeah, frustrated. Yes, exhausted. Yeah, furious.
Sad. We're still sad. We're sad.
Oh, relieved I'm not young. Oh, well, that's sad. Depressed.
I put ashamed too, in a way, trying to but I don't see anybody else feeling that way.
Well, yeah, my top.
Steadfast. Good.
Steadfast, yeah.
Grieving, yeah.
Yeah, devastated and depressed. Principled, that's a good one. Yeah, this is at this time, it's the time when you have to know what your principles are and hold to them and not be swayed by
fear.
yeah, by the fear and just by what other people how they may be reacting. Okay, hopeful. I like that. Very hopeful. That's really great. We'll come back. You guys keep inputting your thoughts. And
Shane has been a constant companion. These are great comments in the chat, everybody. It's true.
yeah, well, whoever said hopeful, um, you should be hopeful and it's not obvious, it's not obvious, but we have an opportunity to make a real big difference and to make a change in the way things are. I mean, I know that it doesn't seem like it at the moment, but we do. We have an opportunity to make this change. And I just want to talk for 1 minute. Um, I'm pretty sure that Julia did not expect me to put this up on the screen, but I am going. We talked about a 10-step plan of how we make things better. So I just want to share this with you because it's okay. It's not a full plan. All right. It's just the basic steps, but let me just share this really quickly. So it's a simple plan. I don't even have any embellishments on the slides. So we have to win these elections that are coming in 2025. And I'll talk a little bit more about them. But we need everybody that's possible to vote in these elections. And those are not just the big ones, but there are state and local elections in many states that we as people abroad can vote in. And I'll show you a little bit about that later. Next, then we need people to volunteer and help and prepare for the 2026 elections. And one of the things that everybody should make sure is that they have their birth certificate, because the SAVE Act isn't dead. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it'd be better if you just, you have time. If you don't have your birth certificate, request it and get it before the 2026 elections. So when we get to 2026, request your ballot early so you have time if there's any problems. And we have an International Voter Registration Day in Democrats Abroad, and that's January 15th. That's also Martin Luther King's birthday. And be sure to vote in your state's primary elections. Many people often complain that we don't have the most progressive candidates, but it's because not that many people vote in primaries. So if there's a really progressive candidate that you like, be sure to vote in the primary and vote for them and do whatever you can to make sure that other people vote. So also ensure all your Democratic and independent friends and family and colleagues are registered, even those abroad and at home. Make sure they're registered. John Lewis fought for the right to vote, and we have to use it. I know a lot of people want there are other things that we can do, but when it comes down to it, we have to have the right people in office. Right now, we have a bunch of terrible people in office, and they are not going to do anything except what Donald Trump wants. So ballot day is usually 45 days. Make sure you vote. You receive your ballot, send it back, voted, and be sure to vote down ballot. So these are the big steps. Step 7, we win back the House and the Senate. And then we impeach Vance and Trump because they both need to go. We need to then investigate all these enablers of Trump and dismantle this whole rotten infrastructure that they've built. And then number 10 is something I added recently. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but we need to take our ideas that we have and make them real and not be bound by what people think is possible or politically possible, because a lot of things are happening right now that are that are not, that seemed impossible, but they're happening. So we can make some good things that are possible happen without having to, hold back. And I think that we have to move forward like with those ideas in mind, for sure, that we can make good things happen and not just tinker at the edges anymore. That things have to be better for everyone, not just for certain individuals. Let me go back to my slides. 1 second. I shouldn't have probably let them down. All right. So, upcoming elections, everybody. We've got New Jersey and Virginia on November 4th. They've had their primaries. Both states have had their primaries. So it's really important that if you vote or know people in the state, to make sure they vote. And Democrats win, because states and cities are our firewall against this autocracy and fascism. We've got a bunch of House seats that are up. Virginia has a special election that's on September 9th for the 11th district. Arizona, that was Raul Grijalva's old seat, and his daughter just won the primary yesterday. Yep. And so Arizona 7, that's September 23rd. Texas 18th congressional district is on November 4th. We've got the Pennsylvania Supreme Court elections and on November 4th. And then we just had another person resign, a Republican in Tennessee's 7th district. Don't know the date yet, but I'm sure that they will put it out.
And Angela, can I say something about how useful and great it is to vote this year? Because when you are voting in elections this year, there's so few people who are participating. Your vote carries a ton of weight. And these elections are really impactful because voter election rules are made at the state level. So when we are voting for our state legislators and we're voting for like open races, you are able to vote in good people who can support your vote. It's really important, and it'll have so much more weight than what in these regular general elections where more people are voting.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I'm just going to put the link for VFA. I know a lot of people use like their state form, or they're used to, they've been voting, but don't take any chances this year. Use the federal postcard application form, because that's specifically for people that live outside of the United States, and they can't deny you a ballot. I just want to show one more thing really quickly about voting, and then we're gonna move on to something else. Let me this, let's see, I change this. These are all the states where you can vote in state and local elections. And that's a lot. And a lot of these states have elections for and county elections and city elections for mayor and city council and whatever. But it's really important that if you can vote in those elections, that you go ahead and request your ballot and vote in them. Again, a lot of our cities are run by Democratic leaders, and we need to keep that firewall going. It's very, very important. So please, if you vote in one of these states, please go ahead and request your ballot. Yeah. Here's a person that says, I vote in Virginia and can't vote down ballot. I don't think that's true.
Virginia is an interesting state. It's one of the more wacky ones where if you have an employee, or if you are employed or your spouse is employed, you may vote down ballot if you live permanently abroad. But otherwise you can't. So if you're retired, then that's the problem. It's a really one of the more interesting rules in state parties. State elections.
New York wasn't on the list because they have a lot of weird rules. I mean, I don't know, Julia, you might want to speak to that a little bit more, but you can't vote down ballot if you're not intending to return.
That's right. You may not.
Voting down ballot means a lot of people will just vote the top of the ticket, like in a presidential year, they'll vote for the president, or maybe they'll vote for the senator or something like this. But there are state positions like the House of whatever, whatever their version of the House of Representatives or the state Senate is, or the mayor, or the county commissioner, or the sheriff's department, or other things. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania doesn't allow you to vote in local elections unless you're intending to return. I'm concerned that we need to do more than vote. Well, that is true, and we're getting to that, but we do need to do more than vote. But one of the problems with the election that we had is a lot of people didn't vote. So we can't leave it up to anyone. It's possible to get your slide to post on Facebook. Yeah, of course. Of course. I don't think can I put a document in here? Okay, I'll put a link to this. I have this as a document also, and you can take it from there. What else are we have here? How does one show they intend to? There is you check the box, intend to return or not intend to return. That is how you show it.
It's something that is done when you are registering or requesting your ballot. Every time you are filling in vote from abroad, at the very beginning, you'll be asked to select from a few choices, and one of them is I intend to return or my return is uncertain. That's where you make those distinctions.
Here's another question. Can you change where you voted? Yes, you can change. What state, Elizabeth, can I change the state where I vote? I was born in New York, lived in Pennsylvania and Ohio, but currently vote in Ohio. But would it be better to change? No, absolutely not. Ohio needs you.
No, actually, and let's just address this because you are able to vote where you last resided before moving abroad. So it's an important thing. You can't just choose the state that you want to vote in.
Debbie, that's very interesting. The email address that was on this event, the event post, can you email me about that? That would be great. Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Got you. I got well, I'll get it after we're done but yeah, voting is not the only thing that you can do. But if you have the chance to vote, John Lewis got his butt kicked all the time so that people could vote. And we need to do it for sure. David Pepper is going to join us in a few minutes, and he's going to give us some more information about things that we can do.
And before he joins, can we talk about what Democrats Abroad is doing from a voter protection point of view?
Yes, please go ahead.
So guys, we have a voter protection team that really works with voters when they have issues. So we, as the issues happened, we are working with them. We are reaching out to some of these problematic Secretary of State's offices, local election offices, to really try to make sure their votes are able to be counted and their registrations work. But we're also being really proactive about our work. We have a team that has been putting together scorecards that are being presented to all the secretaries of states across the United States that basically score how their states work with Americans abroad. And this is a really great way to help even states that are democratically run improve their processes. We also have we really pay attention to legislation that is coming into effect and make sure we are pushing back against the unforeseen consequences. And we are also involved in litigation. We work with, for example, Democracy Docket. We worked with them on the North Carolina challenge. We work with them in other areas as well. There's an issue coming up in Arizona that we're talking with them about. So these are all areas of how we help protect your vote, our votes, and it's something really important to do because, as you guys know, voter suppression is one of the key things that the Republicans they've run with it. They've just increased their voter suppression tactics every year since 2018, and so that we have to really pay attention to it.
Yes. There was a question in the chat. Where was this? So I resided in California, but my new home of record is in Florida. Should I vote in California or Florida? I'm not registered in Florida, and it seems like I must be present to do so. Does anyone know different? Yes, you do not. I vote in Florida. You do not have to be present. If you go to that link, Anne, can you put out that VFA link again, please? If you go to vote from abroad and fill out the form, and that will register you to vote for sure. Let's see, there was another question in here. Yeah. 2016 is really around the corner. For sure. Oh, the question of it's why is there a question if or whether or not we intend to return, and why is that important? I don't know the answer to that question. I just know it exists. And
well, it's something that was brought into some of the legislation that supports voting from abroad. And if you're a temporarily abroad voter in some states, it can affect your income tax status, for example, in that state. So it's really just a way for state, local election offices to kind of keep track of what type of voter you are. If you're going to be coming back to the United States, they'll put you in a different type of settings for your registration. If you're permanently abroad or you don't know when your return is uncertain, then you'll be in a different category. So and again, it really matters. For some states, it'll impact which elections you can vote in. And I can tell you, and sometimes we have to go and explain to the states, like, I remember counties in Florida where they were only sending out presidential ballots because they didn't realize that House of Representative House races were also federal. We had to go and say, you need to reissue those ballots, please. So it's quite something with all the over 8,000 local election offices around the country.
Julia, could you put into the chat the email address that goes to the voter helpline? Somebody asked the question, where do we send our questions to when we have them? Because that is important. When you have a question, you can just email, and we have a whole team of people that just answers questions and helps you with voting. So Julia's going to put that in the chat. And there's a question.
Naomi has a good question about donations.
Okay.
Have we made any headway on a new mechanism through which voters from abroad can donate to campaigns?
No. That's what was that company called?
Act Blue was it?
Act Blue. Yeah, they are catching a lot of flack from the Trump administration.
But we can always donate to Democrats abroad.
Yes, that is true. You can always donate to us because we're using a different mechanism to do so. There's a question quickly about state teams. David Pepper has arrived. Let me just answer the question about the state teams. Our state teams are being rebooted. So just hang in there. They're coming back. Let me just make sure I got all the questions.
We can go back to Act Blue and why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't after David's talked. Because I know it's a confusing thing. So
yeah. All right. Well, welcome, David.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here. Let me introduce you for those who might not know you. David Pepper is a lawyer, a writer, a political activist, adjunct professor, and former elected official, former chair of the Ohio Democratic Party from 2015 to 2021. While he was the chair of the Ohio Democratic Party, he was engaged in numerous battles and extensive litigation over voter suppression, election laws in the Buckeye State, as well as reform efforts to enhance voting and end gerrymandering. David Pepper is the author of Laboratories of Autocracy, a wake-up call from behind the lines, and that book came out in 2021, and Saving Democracy, a user's manual for everyday Americans. Both of these books address the sustained attacks on American democracy with a special focus on the often overlooked state level, and lays out steps for citizens to take to push back. So welcome, David.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't leave you on pins and needles by showing up right at 12:31. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Well, I'm so glad to be with you. Democrats Abroad is one of my favorite organizations. I love what you do. It's so important. And I think potentially because you're in other places and oftentimes probably fielding all the questions about what's happening in America, you maybe feel the pain of some of what's happening more directly because everyone in the countries you're living in is asking you about it, and it's probably hard to explain. So I really am glad to be with you. And the only thing I'd love to do is figure out how to do all these in person. I want to travel around the world and talk to you all, not just do it on Zoom. So I'll talk really briefly, and I do not like coming into a meeting halfway through because I don't know what was talked about before. I saw the schedule, but I just want to. So I just released a couple weeks ago a new edition of this book, Saving Democracy. It's sort of a second edition to account for this terrible Trump era we're in. I'm going to call up some notes here real quick. I hope that's okay.
Go right ahead.
And I want to. I start off this book by walking through, and I hope this is sort of fitting for this group. I got a letter after, and I think people will still feel this way, especially after what the Supreme Court's done, after that terrible budget bill. A letter from a woman who actually does a lot of international law work and international democracy work. And her letter really was asking me, I'm going to find it real quick and read excerpts from it real quick. Let me make sure I can find it here. About how worried she was, given the election, about what was coming. And this was someone who, like you and me, is on the front lines of this stuff. This is someone who's teaches it. And here's what she wrote me. And I just want to spend a little time telling you how I responded. And my hope is it's relevant here. Here's what she wrote me shortly after the election. Hi, David. I am in a state of deep sadness, but more than that, fear. I think the Trump guys are totalitarians, even madmen. I've never felt anything like this before. It's like the end of the world as we have known it. I've always been in favor of, well, let me go through this. I'm shocked that Dems seem to be all about moving on. I don't see the future. I'm terrified. I think they want us to die. I mean, how else to understand RFK Jr. having any role? And then she said, do we think we'll even have future elections? Tell me, she asked, are you frightened? I'm trying to find a reason to feel safe or protected, but this feels more like a war than an election. All my best to you, and thanks for everything you tried to do. Now, some of you probably got similar emails. Like, you get an email like that, and oftentimes I try and respond quite quickly. Hopefully you've seen that. But that was not an email to respond too quickly. This was in some ways, almost a cry for help from someone, but also someone who was capturing, I think, how a lot of us felt. So I took a lot of time and several airplane rides to write back a very long response. And I just want to have it be a sort of a launching point for our conversation. Here's what I wrote back. I said, I thank you for writing. I've talked to so many who feel the same way. I too am fearful of all that you describe. There are so many risks to our nation, the democracy we've known, our communities, and the lives of countless Americans. So yes, we should all worry and we should be disturbed. History instructs us that it only places us more at risk if we deny to ourselves that the worst of your fears can happen. So there's no moving on from that reality, putting our head in the sand. But then I said, but with all that said, the one word that describes my current mood is resolute, to keep going forward. And I won't go through all the reasons why I said that, but I just want to talk for a second about why I explained to her and why I still believe that the right approach is to see, do not diminish, do not dilute in our minds the very real risks that she was worried about then that are playing out now, but why we also should not let that overwhelm us into inaction, which is when the other side wins. And what I tried to explain was there are so many reasons that we have to stay resolute. One is history. What this all is, and a lot of you on Democrats abroad will have already seen this, but not everyone else will have. The history of our country is exactly what we're living through. We kind of fell under an illusion, maybe people around my age, I'm in my early 50s, that somehow we would be the first generation of Americans not to worry about the state of our democracy. That was always a myth. We are literally in the same battle all generations of Americans have always been in. And yes, the Voting Rights Act and what John Lewis achieved, and I know that's our theme today, and what the Warren Court established was wonderful. But it also led us to believe that somehow everything was settled forever. And that was a myth. We are literally, and this is why I love the theme today, we are in the same situation as every generation of Americans has ever faced, which is if you want to keep this democracy, you got to fight for it. And if we were under an illusion that we were the exception to that rule, well, now we know we were wrong, don't we? But as much as that's sort of a sobering thing to realize, over time, because of people like John Lewis, I take inspiration from it. Why? Because John Lewis and suffragists and abolitionists in our moment actually faced far more than we face. And they overcame it to get to what was our most perfected moment of democracy, the post-Civil Rights, post-Voting Rights Act, Barack Obama moment, where we actually, that was us at our best. We can still need to do better, but they got us there through tougher circumstances, through less leverage. You know, in many cases, they couldn't vote, and no one wanted them to vote, and no one wanted to deal them in, and they still got through it. So facing the same situation we face now, they overcame it. And boy, if that doesn't inspire you to see that we can overcome it too, I don't know what will. Now, there's another piece that should make us resolute. Because history doesn't show that, history doesn't just show that this can be overcome. History shows that our effort now determines if the dark moment we are in lasts 2 or 4 years, or 40 years, or 50 years. There's always been a growth in democracy, and there's always been a backlash. And the closer a diverse majority looks to be taking control of our democracy, the fiercer the backlash. We are living through, just like Jim Crow days, just like the Southern strategy, Barack Obama's victory and that Barack Obama coalition has inspired the same backlash it's always inspired in America. And what determines, though, whether or not this backlash and backsliding lasts 2 years or 4 years or 50 years is often what happens almost immediately after it begins. And so I have an 8 and 11-year-old, and this is what keeps me going every day. Do we want them to live for 40 years with this? Or do we want them at the age of 18 or 20 to think, oh, that was a weird time when we were kids, but it's over? What we do right now is a large part of determining that answer, whether this is a 2 or 4 year moment or a 40-year moment. And the single biggest thing that leads to a 40 or 50-year moment is when the pro-democracy side quits. There will always be a side fighting against democracy. That is not new. That is not news. It's always been there. The side that has determined the result is always the side that's for democracy. How hard does it fight? How smartly does it fight? And the reason we had Jim Crow for almost a century was because the white North in the late 1800s quit. There had been a back and forth for a while around Reconstruction, and they quit. And it was the quitting that led to 70, 80 years of no democracy, not just in the South, but in the whole country. And no democracy, particularly for African Americans. So our resolution now will determine, I believe, whether we're stuck with this for a couple years and it becomes a memory, or whether we're stuck with it for a lot longer. And there's another factor in that. And this is, I won't go on all these because I want to go to Q&A, but one reason why that is so true is because America's collective memory is very short. And we have a moment where someone about my age, I can't really judge from the gallery, but people who are a little bit older like me, we know that democracy can be better. Our memory is that it's been good at times, not perfect. We have a younger generation that hasn't seen that almost ever. They've seen a nightmare. They've seen a racist become president. They see billionaires running everything, all of it. And that's a risk that every year that goes by, those of us who know it can be better get less. We're fewer, our memories fade. And those of us who only know it as screwed up as it is now, they become the majority. And the more time passes where that memory that we have disappears and is replaced by young people who think, oh, it's always broken, it's always rigged, it's corrupt, racism wins, cruelty wins. The more that the time goes by where that's true, people don't even think to demand any better. And so one reason why our fight in the short term is so darn important in articulating what we can build and what we lived through not that long ago is it keeps the memory that it can be better fresh, and that people demanding better don't sound crazy because they think democracy can actually lead to good results. So fighting very hard, whether we win or lose every fight, articulating a more positive vision of public service, of democracy, of government is incredibly important, so the collective memory of this country doesn't fall into a place where people don't ever even expect any better because they've never known any better. I think that's a really important part of what should keep us all motivated. I will just simply say, though, in closing, then go to questions. We have a huge opportunity right in front of us, and I won't go through all the details of what I wrote. And this book, Saving Democracy, the new one, tries to walk through all the things we can do like you are doing. But the good news about the fact that we have to act fast and that we can fix this collective memory problem quickly and that we can stop 40 or 50 years of darkness and make it very short is that I think the next couple years also will present huge opportunities. It was blatantly obvious that Donald Trump was going to overreach. I wrote that in November. It's clearly happening. The oligarchs running our country is horrible politics for them. Donald Trump in his first term at least pretended he was the billionaire who cared about everybody else. They've stopped even pretending. At the inauguration, it was all billionaires in the front row. They put Musk in charge of the government, for God's sakes. They're giving out things to, Bezos and Zucker. I mean, it's all billionaire run. That's terrible politics for them. And this bill that just passed is a complete overreach on Medicaid cuts and on all of it. Even immigration and the deportation, horrible stuff, is an overreach. They're even underwater then. So the good news is that they have overreached, they will overreach, and that's the opportunity. The other good news is the midterm is the chance to come back. One of the things that very much frustrates me is, and this is why I wrote these books, we too often have, and I know this is somewhat of a challenge of Democrats abroad in particular, we too often, and one reason we got in this mess, is we lost sight that democracy is shaped through state-level politics. That's where it can be protected, and that's where it is most suppressed when they are doing it. Gerrymandering, voter suppression. But we also know that in a midterm, and by the way, another thing, if you go back over 30 years, the party in power, the party out of power, has always come back in one specific way. I'm not dreaming about the presidential election 4 years from that moment. Working really hard at the state level in the next midterm and doing it in more places than you typically think you should go. Howard Dean did it through the 50-state strategy. Look what happened. And bad news, Karl Rove did it after Obama won. Karl Rove didn't spend 2009 dreaming about Mitt Romney running in 2012. He went to bat for state-level races, including in states where they had just lost, and he said, we're going to win this thing back by channeling the Tea Party energy and putting it to work to serve state house wins all over the country. And it worked. They won Michigan. They won Ohio. They won Pennsylvania. They gerrymandered. They suppressed. We've been living with it ever since. The point is, there is a formula that when they overreach and you have energy on your side, which if you've seen in America and you maybe have it there, huge rallies, bigger than even in 17. If we are smart and we run the same state-based and up strategy, not only federal swing districts, but state and up, the formula is very clear that we can come back soon. We can stop this damage from happening, not for 40 years, but minimize it. And we can do it as soon as in 26. And let me just close with one thing. There's one of the great lines from John Lewis that I know that's the theme. My hope is it's sobering as it is, that we are in a moment like all generations have been, that we're not the first generation that didn't have to worry about democracy, that's a sobering thing. I hope, though, it does for me, I hope that in that challenge, it also gives all of our lives more meaning. Our purpose now is far bigger than just trying to win a bunch of swing districts to have our party win a little more power in 2 years. Our mission is deeper now than it ever been. Maybe I wouldn't have thought it 10 years ago about my own life. We are here to save democracy. That's an awesome mission. And John Lewis wrote, and I'll try, I have the book in front of me. I'll try and find the quote. He said what drove him every day was what he called the spirit of history. And he said, I found in my life that I didn't choose to be, but the spirit and moment of history chose me to play a role bigger than I ever imagined. And I accept that role. And that language that he used, I'll try and find the quote while taking questions. That spirit of history is what is also, I think, should catch us. And we should realize that the work you do, the work we do, the work we do in all states, it's bigger and more important than I think any of us could have ever imagined just a few years ago. And my hope is all of that keeps us all going. Now, there are a lot of specifics on how to do better. I go through that in my books and my Substack. If you don't follow me, I'm not here to promote myself, but if you like anything I'm saying, sign up for my Substack because I go through this stuff every day. But I do think we are in a moment of history where our role is very similar, and we can have more meaning in our lives through our hard work than we ever imagined. So let's just keep going. Thanks, everybody. I'd love to hear any questions you have. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was super helpful. I just want to, before we go on for questions for you, I just want to answer a question that I don't think was really phrased as a question. It was something about, has the Democratic Party really changed their approach? And I just want to say, we're all the Democratic Party. And if we want things to change, we have to, it's, think of us as we have to push from the bottom up, because it's never going to change if we wait for other people to change. And that's what I think we've all been doing with our protest, with our various activities that we've been doing. Like, we have to change how things are going. It can't just be waiting for someone mythical at the top to tell you what is going to be good or what's going to work. We have to push up and make the change. For sure.
And David mentioned
and by the way,
Howard Dean approach.
It's happening. That is happening. The power of the people is is probably the single most important reason I'm motivated right now and optimistic. Is it has to be people driven, and that is what's happening. It's given Democrats, I think, a little more backbone, and it's creating the energy that if we tap into it the right way means we are running in more places and supporting candidates in more places, which is what we have to do. So the good news is it really is happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Amid all the negative stuff.
Yeah, it is happening. Things are happening. It's just not, I mean,
it's not going to stop everything at once.
It's just too slow. That's all. That's how for me, it's just too slow. And I'm sure that's the way it is. So if you have a question, please write it in the Q&A box.
We have a couple of questions here.
Okay.
Shall we do the question from Joanne Maloney?
Sure.
So Joanne asks, how do you think our party can visibly coalesce with and incorporate the passion and determination of the movement of the people, like Indivisible, Move On, ACLU, which is what is giving us all hope and stealing our resolve? David, you think
that's a great question. And my sense is that you guys get this. But when I was chair of the Ohio Democratic Party, I literally had to do training sessions with county chairs about how to work with the new indivisible groups because they sort of saw them as a threat. Like, oh, well, volunteers are going to their meetings and not my meetings. I'm like, I don't care where they're going. I'm fired up that we have 5 times as many people in your county organizing than we ever had. So I do think it does take an open mind that gets us out of just thinking about sort of establishment party politics and see all of this energy. And I think this is happening. There was a sort of a hesitation in the first month or two, I think, of these rallies that have been so wonderful. And what I like is I think a lot of that has gone away. And so I just think we need to, in a visible way, a lot of the biggest speakers now are the Chris Murphys or are the other, Jasmine Crockett's. They're going to these. That doesn't legitimize them. They're good as they are, but that mixing is very important because again, sometimes there's a hesitation with the formal party to be part of these other groups. Well, maybe they'll say something a little too much for us. Forget all that. I speak at all the things I can go to. I've spoken a lot of the rallies. I have a sort of a foot in both the formal Democratic stuff. I speak a lot of county dinners, but I will go to just about any rally and speak too. And if someone's sign is a little different from what you'd have at the establishment thing, I could care less. We need that movement. So I think it's got to be the mindset. But then I do think, like I would say at this training session I would have a county chair summit every year as a party chair. And we would literally do training. Here is how you can incorporate and work with these groups. Here are things you shouldn't do, like say, oh, we've never done it that way before. We shouldn't do that. That's going to scare them all away. So I think there's a way to do it informally and just be present and show up. Don't always need to be the speaker, by the way. Just be there. And then there's a more formal way to do it to make sure that leaders in the party understand that this is to the good. And here's an idea. Here's something I did when I was the party chair. Those individual groups came to like me because I gave them access to our voter file, and they loved that. And they could organize too using our voter file. And I didn't charge them some amount of money to do it. So trying to figure out how to work with them, knowing there's different roles, but seeing that it collectively and complementing, it's very much stronger, I think is important. Let me read the John Lewis quote that I kind of garbled before. Here's a quote that I hope we all are motivated by. It motivates me. At certain points in life, in the flow of human existence and circumstances, the spirit of history, as he called it, this force finds you or selects you. It chases you down, and you have no choice. You just allow yourself to be used, to be guided by this force, and to carry out what must be done. To me, that captures, I hope, all of us at this moment. That's the moment we're in. It's driving me forward. It's driving you forward. And I couldn't think of a better way to stay motivated every day to see that is the spirit that John Lewis did all the work he did in. Angela, you're on a mute.
On mute, yeah.
There you go.
Just so involved in listening to you, I almost forgot my own self. Here's a question from somebody that I think maybe we can all take a little answer to, but they said, if there are no elections, then what do we do? You mean like
Yeah.
I guess they mean that there's not going to be any.
I wrote a whole chapter in my book on this because it comes up a lot. So I just put out a new book. So my older book is called people I saw ask, where do you get that? You can go to online. If you sign up for my Substack, I provide chapters. But that question is such a dangerous question. I don't mean this to be negative towards the person who asked it. But the idea that we won't have elections is a voter suppression tactic as effective as any out there. And I think one reason we won Georgia in January of 21 was Donald Trump told all his voters, well, why bother? They're going to rig it and they're going to win. And his voters didn't show up. The model that they are using right now in America is competitive autocracy. It is not a model where they cancel elections. They want to have elections, and they want to claim the mandate of having won elections. So I believe it. I could be wrong, but I believe that if you follow closely, they are following the Orban style of having elections, but doing everything in their power to make those elections most easy to win for them. That's why they gerrymander. That's why they suppress. So we should never tell ourselves, or they win, well, we're not going to have elections. It's not worth fighting for. It's over. And I think all of us, when someone asks us, and again, I do that with respectfully, they are not using the model of just canceling elections like Soviet style. They are using the model of wanting elections and wanting the mandate from elections to say they get to do what they're doing. But the trick is they want to make those elections as complicated for us as possible. And that's why we should be gearing up as hard as we can for elections. And we should be gearing up to fight every attempt to suppress votes and gerrymander, because we know their game is not cancellations. It's to interfere with elections so they're as unfair as possible, so they win them, and then they claim that they're a majority, which they are not. So we need to be more intense about elections than ever, knowing they're going to happen. But when they bring up things like the SAVE Act, perfect strategy if you're an Orban-style competitive autocracy. The SAVE Act, equivalents in states like Ohio that are trying to do the same thing of screwing up voter registration and gerrymandering and other things. You know, this current thing where they're trying to go through data, they're demanding data on voter data. That is what we should be looking out for, because that's the competitive autocracy strategy. There will be elections. They didn't cancel the Wisconsin election. They tried to buy it. There will be elections, but they want to rig them in their favor, and we have to be as fierce as we've ever been to have those elections, run everywhere, and then whatever we can do, be a precinct person doing voter protection, whatever we can do to protect those elections so they're fair, we should do. So that's sort of my answer on that one. They want that mandate. They want to be able to claim, listen to Trump. You would think he won by 10 million votes. They want to claim they won elections, which lets them do what they want, what they're trying to do.
Right. We have okay, this is probably a easy question for you. It is difficult to be effective from abroad, and we're going to have a lot of answers for that later. But besides voting and periodic protest, what practically can we do?
From abroad or just overall?
From abroad, yeah.
I mean,
that's how they framed it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are obviously the experts, but and by the way, Ken Martin gets this as well. But the more we can, and I think this is harder from abroad, but the more we can get out of the mindset that everything is about the big federal races, as if that's determining democracy. And the more you all are back with your state teams in your state saying, hey, are we going to do what Anderson Clayton did and run in almost every district, or aren't we? Are we going to let half these people go uncontested, or aren't we? In the 26th election, do we have 20 volunteers for the person not running the district we think they're pretty much going to win, but running the district that no one's ever helped anyone run in before? I think the more we can all say that democracy starts at the state level, and not only in the states that are most obviously blue, and we are losing because they have seen this for a long time and we haven't. The more we can all back within our states do that, and Karen Lee is on here. Every month I have a meeting with some Democrats abroad on it, of a group called Blue Ohio. And by the way, if you're interested in this, it's called blueohio.org. Check it out. Blue Ohio is my effort to get a bunch of people in Ohio and beyond to put money in to help state house candidates running in the worst districts in Ohio. Because if we don't help them, no one's running, and then half these people are uncontested, and that lets them get away with doing the worst things. So if you go to blueohio.org, we have the same model in Missouri and Tennessee. It's my effort to try and get Ohio to start seeing that running more broadly is important and focusing on the state house is important. So one thing I think and this is work that comes long before we know who's going to run for president. One of the things, I'll close with this, and then you guys can tell me this, I know ad nauseum. The other thing is channel the energy of the rallies. And to the extent you say this, great. And I love Chris Murphy. I love Jasmine Crockett and AO. They're all amazing. Some will run for president. But nothing drives me more nuts than we have these massive rallies in red counties or red states. And the main story that comes out is, oh, that person gave a great speech. Maybe they too should run for president. Or they raised so much money. That's amazing. The power of the crowds is the people. And in those crowds are the candidates for state rep and school board we need far sooner than the next presidential race. And in that crowd are hundreds or thousands of people that could volunteer for those races. And so every piece of energy we are seeing, be it online, be it in person, be it through the states you're working with, help us all think, channel that energy like Karl Rove did and like Howard Dean did into more near-term, broader grassroots energy so we're running in more places and the people running have a much bigger army behind them than feeling like no one helps them because they're running in a tough part of a red state. So those are just some of the thoughts that I would give. And I think it's a little harder abroad, but you guys have more energy than most of the state parties. So I know you can figure out how to do all that, even though you're a lot further away.
All right. Thank you so much, David. The Ohio team will always be in touch with you. So thank you so much for coming today and making this a very good event.
We feel so much more positive now, don't we? More hopeful.
And great to see you, David.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
When you have your next international convention in person, you don't have to pay. I'll be there. I'd love to meet you guys all in person if you ever do those. So good to see you on Zoom, but I look forward to that as well.
All right.
I'll
Thanks
invite
so much
myself.
for coming.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we will
everybody.
invite you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care. Keep doing everything you're doing.
Yeah.
See ya.
If we did.
Yeah. So that was, I put his links in the chat and I'll put them in again. Check out his Substack. He's got a lot of really practical things that people can do to make a difference. And one of the things that you can always do, and we're going to talk about that with Julia in a second about our resistance activities, but consider volunteering at your country committee level, at the regional level, at the global level. We have how many caucuses? 12, 14 caucuses, something like that people can volunteer in, because we have to get ready for 2026. And we have to get ready. And if we're not ready, the idea that we're not having an elections is like a thought stopper. It tries to put you in inaction. But doesn't matter. We're going to have those elections and we're going to win because we are going to win, for sure. So we'll talk a little bit more about that now. But I would like to introduce our next speaker, Julia Bryant. She leads our DA Resist, the Democrats Abroad Global Resistance Program, for mobilizing members to push back against rising authoritarianism and Republican extremism. Based in Prague, Czech Republic. She is the chair of DA Czech Republic, and she works across the organization to support both local and global actions. Julia has served as the international chair of Democrats Abroad from 2017 to 2021 and is currently a DNC member. And she now leads the DA Resist program. So, Julia.
Well, hi, everybody, and thank you, Angela. It's always so hard to come after David Pepper, I have to say. But the great thing about David is he's extremely energizing, and I get to kind of help expand the answer that he was giving to the question about what can we do abroad? How can we push back? How can we resist? That's a hard question to ask someone from the United States because they don't really know the landscape as well, but we do, and we're here to talk about that. And, back in November, after the election, Democrats Abroad realized we have to push back. We have to create a resistance program because we knew what happened in 2017. We lived through it already. And so we started building the program. The first thing that we have done, and this is something I hope you are all aware of and can sign up for if you're not, is something called Take Actions. We have Take Actions that we pull out and publish at least once a week. They're on our website, and we also send an email if you're signed up for them. Please join. These actions are things like calling your representative, calling your senators, calling your governors. And, one thing that we found is that it takes a really short amount of time, but it's really impactful. Every representative's office that we talk to, they say, this is the most important thing you can do We need to hear from Democrats. We're hearing from Republicans 8 times more than we're hearing from Democrats. We need your voice out there. Even Dems need to hear from you. So please consider joining our Take Action team and just like once a week or twice a week, making a call. We also have something called resistance roundtables. Now, resistance roundtables, why did we come up with this? It's because we knew that when you are by yourself, when you're reading the news, you start getting your knees get frozen. You're scared. You don't know what you can do. And so one of the best things you can do is get together locally with friends, get together locally with other Democrats, and run an action. So we were inspired by folk here in the Czech Republic to put this together, and they're my test group. They always test all these actions out ahead of time. We've put together a great list of things, everything from a call storms where everybody gets together, and if you're a little nervous, you get to practice with friends. It's really fun. We also have call tree programs where you're basically brainstorming together about who else you can get to call, and then having a list that you get in touch with every time you do these calls. We also have, we're putting together educational programs so you can talk about immigration, because that is a really tough subject to talk about. But if you have some talking points and language, it makes it much easier. We're putting together programs that help you understand, like, how does this democracy work? I don't know about you guys, but the Senate is a very confusing organization. And the more I can learn and read about it, the better it is. I'm sure we're all kind of in the same point of like going, I really need to know where are things getting decided about this, about that? And so that's what one of those programs is all about. We also have protest and rally organization, because we know that that's extremely energizing. We have poster making, programs on how to do that effectively. And then finally, we have something called Find the Fighters. And I'm going to talk to you more about that right now. I'm going to dive into that Find the Fighters program, because it really addresses one of the things that we all are wondering about, which is, and I won't spoil it yet. I'm going to start share my screen if that's okay. But
please go ahead.
One thing I would also just reiterate before I do is, just as Angela said, volunteering at your local DA group is super, super important, especially as we come up to elections this year. There's nothing more important that we can do than vote. One quote that I just hold in my heart all the time is something that John Lewis said. And he said, "Your vote is precious. Your vote is almost sacred." We should always remember that our vote is precious. And we have to do whatever we can to protect it. We have to do whatever we can to use it, and then to help other people use it. So please just remember, your vote is precious. Okay, and now I'm going to share my screen. And by the way, I met him one time, and I have to say, I cried the entire time, because I was so amazed that I was able to touch this, shake his hand, and he's just an amazing hero to me. So I'm going to compose myself and share my screen. Oh, can I please share my screen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I must send my request.
Yes, please. There you go.
So this presentation is called "Find the Fighters." I started calling it "Find the Helpers" because I love Mr. Rogers, but I think the times really call for "Find the Fighters," so that's what we renamed it. And I also always often think of Star Wars. This is and we are resistance fighters.
Are you sharing?
Oh, I am sharing. Oops.
Oh,
try again?
Are you sure?
I will try again.
I'm just gonna make you a co-host.
There we go. Now you can see my screen.
Yeah, all right.
Great. So, a lot of people are asking, and I'm sure you hear this question all the time and may ask it yourself, but we ask, where are the Dems, right? So, everyone's going, where are the heroes who are going to be coming to rescue me? And, and where are our leaders? Well, the answer is they're fighting. We know that we have wonderful people. I'm sure we all heard Cory Booker when he stood up and gave that amazing blockbuster hours-long speech. But the thing is, the news is focused elsewhere. They're focused on Trump and his little hand. So what do we need to do about this? And why is it happening? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go over why this is happening, and then I'm going to tell you a bit more about what we can do about it. The answer is we need to be the people augmenting these stories and augmenting our leaders, but I'm going to dive into the details right now. So why does media intimidation work? Because the media has been kicked out of the Oval Office. They've been silenced at the Pentagon. Public broadcasters are obviously under attack. They're losing funding, especially these rural radio stations. Independent media is being sued left and right. So much of mainstream US media has capitulated. Let me just share with you some of these headlines. I mean, it's insane. Trump says global trade is unfair. Does he have a point? If you look at the New York Times today and just do a quick find for Trump, Trump shows up 18 times on the main page of the New York Times. Zero, there are no Democratic leaders that are mentioned on the New York Times. The only person who comes close is, I'm sure you can guess, Epstein at 12. So, and that's today's news. But with Donald Trump showing up in every story, the focus is really on him and not on what Democratic leaders are doing. This happens in the New York Times. It happens in all US-based mainstream media. And also, this is not going to surprise you either, but social channel algorithms are skewed. Why is this? Well, algorithms, they de-rank left content. Democratic content is more policy heavy, aka a little bit boring. It's less sensational. And also, we don't have mainstream media boosting these news influencers like Fox does so very well. Also, social media news influencers, they lean right. This is an interesting chart from the Pew Research Center made by Axios. And it shows the top 5 social channels: Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, and how these news influencers, how they lean. And you'll see Facebook is 39% is right. If you're ever wondering, why do my Facebook posts not get traction? There's a reason. Instagram, 30%, X and YouTube, 28%. TikTok is the one exception at 28%. But even then, the algorithm in TikTok is skewed so heavily right that it's very hard to get your post in front of the right people. Now, the interesting newcomer to this list, back in November when Pew did this survey, they didn't include Blue Sky, but they've updated it since then in May. And you'll see that Blue Sky now has 68% leaning left with 19% leaning right. So these are interesting numbers. And for any number that doesn't add up to 100, it's because the rest are neutral. The other thing is online shows are dominated by Republicans. And this was from February, Media Matters for America data. And you'll see Joe Rogan in February was at 39.9 million. Now, the interesting and exciting news is that the tide is turning basically there. And Midas Touch had 125 million downloads in March. They've since dropped to about 91 million last month, but they're still like just whopping some of these other groups, which is wonderful. If you have a chance, go to Midas Touch and sign up for their podcast. Let's contribute to their numbers. Also, we're catching up on YouTube. It's Midas Touch is at the very top of the YouTube channels. And interestingly enough, YouTube is not so far, they sometimes their algorithms will give a little bit more, swing a bit to the left-leaning content. So they're another friendly channel for us. But we need to do other things. We have to be not just relying on what we see in our own feeds. We have to take control of our feeds. And that is what I want us to all think about how we can do. We've got to highlight the great fighters of the Democratic Party. We've got to think beyond, well, of course, Bernie and AOC, they're so inspiring. They inspire me every day. I go and I read them and I get inspired, but there are a lot of other people too. And, when people say, where are the fighters? And they ask me to list them. Well, I start and I say, no problem. Cory Booker, Chris Murphy, we have Elizabeth Warren, we have, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Tammy Duckworth, the list keeps on going on and on and on and on. And our landscape of wonderful Democratic fighters is so rich and so robust and all over the map, from senators to representatives, from attorney generals like Keith Ellison to mayors like Karen Bass. It's a remarkable group of people all around the United States who are fighting for us, and we have to look for them, because you're not going to see in your feed their information. You're going to think, okay, AOC and Bernie, but when you start digging, you're going to see tons and tons of people. So that is what Find the Fighters does. We ask you guys to put together put together a group where you are helping our fellow resistors find the Democratic leaders. And the leaders are people like what we just talked about, but they're also journalists. They're also activists like David Pepper. Follow David on Substack. Heather Cox Richardson, Scott Dworkin. There's just wonderful, wonderful lists of people that you can follow and then promote them, because it's not enough just to follow them. We need to be sharing. We are our own media channels, each one of us, just like David's talking about. We have to stand up and get into the fight. We have to build advocacy and attention locally and around the world. So that's my ask to you guys. Just remember, we're the messengers, we're the amplifiers, we the people are the resistance. So thank you guys for your time. And I just want to also, I have some links here that maybe Angela, you guys can pop into the chat. They're in the Signal chat. But I just these are great resources to get started. And I'm stopping my sharing.
All right, I will definitely share those in just a second. Thank you so much, Julia. I mean, we are, I don't know if you want to take any questions.
I do. I'd love to take questions.
Okay.
And also, by the way, this was just like a few of the leaders that I follow, not all of them. And these are only political leaders. There's wonderful journalists. There are wonderful activists that we should all be really promoting their voices.
Yes, there definitely are. I want to share this. Let me see if I can share this. It was you'll have to, I hope you're John Pavlovitz. I subscribe to his Substack, and he sent out a very interesting thing today. I'm just going to share it in there. There's a whole bunch of other people. There are literally hundreds of creators on YouTube and TikTok and Substack that you can look to. And I mean, I don't read the New York Times. I just don't. I've had so much trouble. I started having trouble with them in the Iraq War, and it's only gotten worse over times. And I would never waste any time on the Washington Post. They just put out something the other day about how they're turning their op-ed page into a place of hope and optimism, and for these times. And that's just nonsense.
Yeah,
for sure.
And by the way, I just want to say to reading the chat is a great way to get hope too, because you guys are already following wonderful people. It makes me so happy, and sharing. This is exactly what you do when you get together and do a Find the Fighters program with your friends. You sit down and you share who you like. You guys build a spreadsheet, and then you maybe build a Blue Sky starter pack, and everyone gets so excited. And because they're contributing, you say, okay, I'm doing something. It's just a wonderful experience, actually.
Julia,
so I really, yeah.
I have a question that came from the chat box quite a while back, but I think it's a good question. It's a kind of problem you want to have. What do you do if your local resistance roundtable is full?
Oh, we start another one. I mean, look, hey, resistance roundtables are all about, it's your friends, you can make your own group, reach out to your friends, and you can have something online. We are having our very own resistance roundtable right now, guys. It doesn't have to be just in person. It is fun in person. You get to drink some nice coffee, or maybe a cocktail or something, but it's also wonderful to be online and to be able to reach out to people and feel feel the energy that is actually raised by conversation.
How exactly would, say, my local group, couple of friends, how would I go about starting one of those little roundtables?
Okay, so basically think who you'd like to invite. Actually, if you go to our Resistance Roundtable page, it talks about what you need to do to get started. Like how to, even has some sample emails that you can send out as invitations. Because we know, basically I'm always all about lifting and getting over the administrative humps that one has. So just we have sample emails, we have all these things all spelled out for you, so you don't have to do too much of the work. And if you have ideas for other Resistance Roundtable programs, please let me know. I love adding to the material. You know, we have people who are meeting once a month, and so we try to say, oh, what else can we think of, you know, that people can do? So send in those ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Send in your ideas because um, everyone has something inside of them that can help. The other thing that people can do, which in Germany, we're starting a program where we're going to try to find every American in Germany. Germany has a lot of Americans in it, and they have clubs, and there's all sorts of organizations and all sorts of things that if you just poke around or ask people, I found out that there was an Ivy League club in Germany that I didn't realize was there before. And so, yes, if you find your US citizens, find out where they are. If you're in a country with a country committee, contact your country committee and let them know, hey, there's a bunch of Americans here. I would be great if we can get in touch with them or something like this. And don't wait. Don't wait until 3 months before the election. Start now.
That's right. That's a really important thing because community is, you can't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, don't you want to vote? I mean, you need to build community ahead of time. So that is a great thing to do right now. Thank you, Angela, for highlighting that.
I see another important question I'd like to share from Beverly. Will DA share who from DA in my area, who's in my area, so they can be invited to a roundtable? How does it work?
That's a great question. We we have really strict GDPR. I mean, we have to follow GDPR, so we can't share that information, but we can send emails to people in certain groups, so in certain regions to invite people. But it's not possible because of GDPR and the privacy policy that we assure our members of, that we cannot share information that way.
What about getting in touch with your local chapter chair? And the chapter chair could put out the newsletter and get in touch with Anne if you want to join her roundtable.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And so let's see, any other questions?
Hey, yeah, there's a couple of questions. Malika had a question for you. The
How to
question,
highlight and amplify messaging?
yeah.
That is a great question. Okay, and so my first advice is, I know Facebook can be easier, but it's not going to get very far. So I really recommend amplifying your messages on Blue Sky or also because at Blue Sky you can reach a lot of Dems that way, and people who might not have heard about what's happening. You can also amplify your messages on YouTube by writing in the comments. One thing I really love to do, so instead for really nasty Republicans, we recommend not calling people who are not your representative and not your senators, but go to their social channels and write in their social channels about the horrible things they're doing. And it doesn't matter if you're their constituent. It really highlights, and it's a great way to bomb them with these messages and get a lot of your friends to do that too. Actually, it's a wonderful action I recommend taking. We have that written up as one of our Resistance Roundtable actions as well. So just like sit down, pick an action, pick a politician, and tell them why they are harming you. Tell them why they're harming your friends and your family, and tell the stories. Make yourself human. It's a wonderful, wonderful way of pushing back. And it's something we can do abroad.
Okay, I just want to answer this one other question. The person says, I'm struggling with social media because I don't want to support Facebook, Instagram, X, and Blue Sky. What is another way to get out the word without supporting these mega billionaires?
Well, Blue Sky is not a mega billionaire site that I know of, but so I think that's pretty okay. It's true about Facebook and Instagram and X, of course. So I wouldn't, you don't need to do that, but can look into Blue Sky, and I think it's more, it's not as bad as the other ones.
Well, I would also suggest, it's a little bit old fashioned, but you could email your friends and family about this information. It's or you could send them a message on whatever messaging platform you use, to whatever groups you're in, to let people know about this. There's 1,000 ways to like, what is it they say? Like you can death at 1,000 pecks or something like that, that we're just pecking away.
It's true.
You
And
know,
also, letters to the editor. So sending a letter to the local newspaper news organization where you're from, where you vote, is really great. And we have a program as part of Resistance Roundtable that helps you do that. So I recommend that, letters to the editor. Yeah, and just like Angela said, getting in touch. That's why we have that call tree program where you're sitting there and you're brainstorming, who can I speak to? And so, what can I talk to them about? And just like Angela said, this is a great way to avoid the social media, ping them on, pick up the phone and talk to them about it and ask them to make other calls too. So
yes, it's an easy way. Okay, everybody, we are a little bit behind,
I'm
but
so sorry.
no, it's not your fault. It's just but it's okay. We're good. I want to introduce our next set of guests. We are honored today to have Indivisible Abroad. They are people that you should know, because we need to go at this at all angles. So I just want to introduce, I'm not going to read all your bios. Sorry, we're so far behind. We've got Mary Van Thorpe and Lindsay Brock. And oh my gosh, where'd the other one go? And Michelle Carlson. They're all from Indivisible Abroad. Okay, your sharing is taking a little time, but it's coming.
It's there?
Okay. It's not there. It's not there yet.
Okay. Let me present here.
Let's see. I know you just have a black screen. Stop sharing and try it again.
Okay, stop there.
I'm just gonna.
I may, let's see.
I'm just gonna do that. Maybe that'll make it easier. Stop sharing and reshare, I think, because it's not going anywhere.
Okay. All right. I might just have to start because can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we just can't see your slides.
Okay. Okay, everything seems to be shit.
Stop sharing.
I'm trying to. Can you hear me? Because I'm now saying Zoom is crashing.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, right. Okay, hopefully you didn't hear these this window away from the station. Okay, right. I think I might have to leave. Maybe you can get Lindsay or Lindsay or Michelle to go, and then I'll come back because I'm gonna have to restart. Oh wait, I think it might have worked here.
No.
Oh. Can you see my screen?
No.
Okay.
We can't even see you anymore.
All right.
Lindsay or Michelle, can you come on screen for a sec and talk?
Okay, Michelle is up next. Hi, I'm Michelle. And I'm with Good Trouble Firenze, so in Florence, Italy, but I vote in Minnesota. And I'm just going to quickly introduce a new campaign we're starting that we're calling Pop-Up Protests, because this movement is meant to be more individual, driven by a person's desire to make some daily or weekly trouble rather than the big events that everybody attends. The concept is very simple. Make small act of defiance a part of your daily or weekly routine. There's lots of ways to do that, and we trust that people can come up with these ideas on their own, but just as ways to remind others, other Americans, but also the citizens of the countries that we all live in, that not every American is MAGA. And that is to show up consistently and show up with joy and hope. We are offering expats a guide to personal protest through daily or weekly events that fit the location where you live. So specifically, because Florence is a tourist destination, the majority of Americans who are here are not permanent residents. They're temporary residents, they're students, or they are tourists. And so the idea is to take your daily or weekly coffee and turn it into a tiny protest. We've created a publicity packet with PDFs for tabletoppers and handouts with QR codes for our own social media areas, but also resources like how to vote from abroad. The thing that will tie all the smaller protests together will be a common hashtag and sharing across platforms and with other organizations in order to create a larger whole that will encompass people from all over the world and eventually reach back into the United States. So to summarize, because I was trying to fit my presentation into a tiny bit of time, we're creating a movement that empowers Americans abroad to protest what is happening in the US in everyday ways, give them the tools to organize and publicize in a way that creates a larger community to share not just the protest, but the inspiration to do more, and protest in a way that bridges the gap between larger organized protests to keep everyone engaged. So just to summarize, it's simple. You already go out for coffee, and instead of sitting at your table and blending in, have a sign that says you're protesting the action of a rogue regime, which it is. Invite your friends to join you. Sit where you can be seen. Invite conversation with people. There's no chanting, no big signs, no disruptions, but you are there claiming your space, using your voice, and sharing your experience on social media. And that, in a nutshell, is what the program is. And I don't have anything else.
No.
So I guess I could turn it over to Lindsay if Mary's not ready.
Yeah, she's not back yet.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to build off of what Michelle talked about so that if anyone has any questions, they can ask at the end. I would like to try to share my screen, hoping that we don't have any issues. All right. I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes, go right ahead.
Awesome. All right, so this is our Instagram. So I am the communications lady of Good Trouble Firenze. We are part of Indivisible Abroad as a wider network, but we started as Good Trouble Firenze. And here, so to participate in the pop-up protest that Michelle was talking about, obviously you don't need to do this. We have prepared a nice little packet, like a little protest packet for people who maybe don't have the resources, don't know how to start, don't know what to do. But people can do it just with their own resources if they so wish, or they can personalize the ones that we have given. So on our link tree, you can find Join the Movement. We've created a landing page for the idea of pop-up protests. And it just talks about what it is, who inspired it, why it matters, and how it works. Okay. And then we talk about what you get, what we have created. You can put your email, name, and your city, because we would like to track it to see who is participating and why. Our idea is that people from any, left-leaning organizations in the US can participate and spread the word through our hashtags, taking pictures, engaging in conversations with passersby, even locals in their cities, especially for us abroad, because I know that this type of thing in the US in certain places might not feel very safe necessarily. But for us, it's definitely safe. And so yeah, that is the idea. And obviously, you don't have to get our protest package. Obviously, it's automated. So if you put your email here and everything, it will just arrive to your email. We have table toppers, QR code flyers. It is specific to Italy. So obviously the QR code flyers, for example, there are certain things that are specific to Italy, but you can, as I said, personalize, add your own flyers. We have little conversation cards like for icebreakers. And also I did a trifold just of information of all of the different, not all of them, maybe it's not exhaustive, but most of the different actions that Trump has done that have affected Americans abroad and in the US. So that is the pop-up protest. I would also like to share another initiative that we have been working on, and we've been working on it for about a month now as well. The pop-up protest, we would like to start it now and throughout the summer, and hopefully as long as possible, because we want it to be a continuous thing and we want it to spread far and wide. However, we have this other initiative. It's called Our Line in the Sand. And we've been doing it for about a month now to kick off our action on the 14th of June. And basically the line in the sand, it's a video, it's a storytelling video campaign, digital campaign that we've been sharing across our social medias. And basically we've asked American citizens, specifically around us, like in our organization, to speak out, to make a powerful video of not longer than 90 minutes, to talk about one policy, one action or decision made by the Trump administration that has deeply affected them personally or someone that they care about in the US or abroad. And we call it what is your line in the sand? So I'm going to show you really quickly. They're short videos. I'm just going to show you like one video just to give you an example, and then I'll talk a little bit about the other ones. We have so far 4 plus a video compilation that I'm not going to show. I was going to show it originally, but we are opening the call for submissions for anyone who feels so moved to do one of these videos. So I'll give you a little example here.
A line in the sand. As an American living abroad, I've watched my country inch closer and closer to authoritarianism. But this moment, this one right here, is where I say enough. Trump's attack on free speech, especially on college campuses, crosses one of many lines for me. Revoking federal funding from universities that allow peaceful protests, peaceful pro-Palestinian protests, that's not leadership. That's tyranny. Free speech is not conditional. It's not just for the people he agrees with, it's for all of us. And that's why I'm marching in Florence on June 14th, No King's Day. On the same day Trump celebrates himself with a military parade, we'll be standing for democracy, for human rights, for the right to speak truth to power, no matter where we are in the world. This is my line. What's yours? I'm drawing a line.
So that was obviously it started before No King's Day. We have, for example, Michelle did one. She talked about body autonomy and the rollback of women's rights. I did one. I talked about immigration and how ICE raids have been used against citizens. And then we also have one that Chiara, who's actually an Italian citizen, did.
Hi, I'm Chiara. I was born and grew up in Tuscany, and I now live in the US, and I believe to be one of the 200 writers were censored and projected. I'm here not just for Fulbright, but also for everybody are suffering with some situation.
So Chiara was a Fulbright scholar. Her offer got rescinded after the Trump administration interfered with the Fulbright committee, and that happened with over 200 Fulbrighters. So just some examples. There are so many issues. Some of them seem small. Some of them people haven't heard about. People who maybe aren't in academia weren't so aware of the Fulbright situation, for example. So as I said, we're opening a call for submissions. Again, you can go to our link in bio. Can you see the link in bio? We have the line in the sand video submissions. We have a Google Doc. All right, here I have the instructions of how to submit. All right, so for example, we choose one issue. I know there's so many, but we want to go deep. We want to inform. So you choose one issue, not more than a 90-second video. Where you say, you introduce yourself, what happened, why does it matter to you, and then how does it affect the community. Then obviously here we have a list. It's not exhaustive. There are more. We have a list. We prefer no repeats if possible. The only reason is because, I know that you might have the same line of the sand as someone else. If you want to repeat it, look for another angle, because we want to inform. We want to look at all angles of the issue, but we also want to diverse. We want as many issues as possible to be covered, because we want to talk about all the different things. There are so many that even a lot of people don't know about, and use it as an opportunity to learn about other issues as well that are affecting communities. So yeah. Those are our campaigns. We're hoping that they gain traction among other groups, such as Democrats Abroad, Indivisible, and anyone else who wants to join. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Mary's back. Yay. Mary, and you're on mute.
Right. Let's try to share my screen again. I have moved. Right. Okay. All right. How do can people see my screen now?
No, we can't.
Oh God, I'll share.
Okay.
I'm just going to talk.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thanks for inviting us, and sorry about the technical issue. I am Mary Van Art Bithell. I am one of the co-founders of Abroad. And thank you very much for asking us to join you today. It's been absolutely fascinating. So I think I don't have to tell you.
Mary?
That, the US, from abroad we're seeing the 20 lessons from history from Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny play out. It's playing out in real time. And there are effective people, but there is apparently, that does not appear to be a effective. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so active sort of unified opposition to what we're seeing, which is the descent into authoritarianism. Decades of civil and human rights, the fight for the civil and human rights have been eroded in a systematic way by the Republicans, and it has driven a lot of us to kind of look to see what role we can play in resist this. We're kind of screaming into the voids. Yes.
You disappeared.
Ugh, sorry. Okay.
But it's okay. Just keep talking.
Okay.
Oh, nope, she's gone. All right. Okay, she's gone. I hope that she can come back. In the meantime, let's move on to our next segment. Because she's been waiting for a little while. I hope Mary can come back. Adrian, are you there? Adrian?
I'm here. I haven't been waiting that long.
Oh, okay.
I don't
All
feel
right.
like it because it's been a good time. Hello, everyone.
Hi. We're just gonna go to our next segment and hope that Mary can come back. Zen and the Art of Resistance with Adrian George. Adrian George is the author of Wellness on the Weekly, 52 Fun Prompts for Mindfulness, Movement, and a Whole Lot Less Stress. She is a mindfulness activist and she was the Democratic National Committee member for Democrats Abroad from 2016 to 2024. And she is also one of my really good friends. And I have been working with her on mindfulness and yoga since the beginning of the year, since the election, and it's made a really big difference in my life. Um, I I don't say that lightly. Like it's taken, I mean, how can I put this? I'm still angry. Like like I'm still incredibly angry, but I'm not stressed, if you know what I mean. Like I'm not tense and I'm not, jittery or whatever. And Adrian's work has done wonders for me. And I just want her to share what she's done because everybody needs this. This is going to be a long haul. This is a long haul. This is not the short version. Like, and we all have to keep our sanity, keep our strength, keep the stress level down as low as you can in order for us to, you know, be able to fight this fight. So, with that, would you like me to share your slides, Adrian?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Hold on one sec.
And I appreciate being invited. I didn't coin the phrase rest is resistance. We all heard about that, but it's true, right? Our system seems to be cracking, but we don't want to crack up. We have to be able to rest so that we can resist. And this is very short. As soon as I joined, I heard Angela say you're running late. So consider this like a 15, 20-minute pause. Angela asked for 20 minutes. So if Mary comes back, we can always get her in. Or Angela, you can let me know we're flexible, right? Because we're trying to be Zen.
That's right. Definitely Zen.
Yeah, we're gracious. Mary is back. Welcome, Mary. We're gracious with the tech. Don't let that stress you out. It can get the best of all of us. And yeah, we're here because of Representative John Lewis, right? Doing some good trouble. So Angela, you can slide. Y'all been talking about John Lewis all day, but I just love those 3 images of him. So resistance is a practice, right? It's a practice. It's something that you have to practice. We do it. So is rest. Rest is underrated, but we need rest so we can be kind and relaxed with Zen energy, even in chaos. We heard the word Zen a lot. What is it? It comes from the Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism, and it emphasizes the value of meditation and intuition over any particular religion. So today we honor John Lewis not only through action, but through the art of rest as resistance. Next, please. We're going to do some things. As I say, we have to practice. It's a mindfulness practice, which means I have to work on it every day. We're going to practice. We're going to do a grounding breath work, tapping and affirmations, journaling and reflection, a little silent reset, and then number 5, the grassroots stretch, which I'm dedicating in advance to Ken Sherman, former Democrats Abroad, International Chair, Vice Chair, and DNC member, and a mentor of mine. Now, I'm purposely doing this from my dining room table because you can do it from your office chair anywhere. I'm in regular clothes. You don't have to be in anything particular. You just have to say, okay, I'm taking a pause. So let's get going with the breath work. Angela, I don't have that on the slide. That's where I'm going to come in from my notes. But I love this picture. You've probably seen it already today of our favorite president, at least mine, giving one of our favorite reps a Medal of Honor. And this is a quote from John Lewis: "Ours is not the struggle of one day, 1 week, or 1 year. It's the struggle of a lifetime, and each generation must do its part." So with that in mind, if you're not already, well, you can decide if you want to sit down or stand up. We will stand up at the end, or you can do that from a chair too. There's no way that you have to do it, but just be here. Angela, I can see you on the screen. Can they see me as well?
Yes.
Perfect.
I can.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
going to
great.
make you the centerpiece. How about that?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so we're going to do a breathing exercise. Life energy breathing exercise. It's called 4-7-8 breath. And by that means it's a 3-part breath. You're going to inhale for your count of 4. Everyone's lung capacity is different, so I'm not going to tap it out. This isn't synchronized swimming. Inhale for your count of 4. Hold your breath for 7 counts. And exhale for 8 counts. It may be easier to exhale if you purse your lips like fish lips, or as if you were inhaling or using a straw. It can help you empty your lungs. So feet flat on the floor. If you're seated, back in your chair. Relax your shoulders. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze. If you're wearing glasses, I'm going to have to put them back on to read, but take them off for maybe a moment. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Maybe place a hand on your heart, one over your stomach. And when you're ready, let's begin. That's 1 round. Let's do 3 more rounds. Do another if your body is calling for it. If that feels complete, come back to your beautiful natural breath. You can release your hands. Notice if you feel anything maybe coming down a notch. Came down a notch or 2 for me. This is something that you can do at any time, in the car, in the grocery store line, in a meeting, before you have to have a hard conversation. Inhaling, holding, and exhaling helps you prepare, be steady, set. Now, I don't know if Cass Thomas is on the line or if anyone knows Cass in DA Italy. Years ago, she asked me, "Do you do FT? Do you know what that is?" And I looked at her, probably actually at 5 heads. But now I know what it is. Emotional freedom technique. And it's just tapping. We're going to use our hands to touch spaces on our body to release stress and tension. And we're going to silently say some affirmations. Of course, if it feels good for you to say them out loud in your space, you can say them. And I'll lead you through this. You can just follow me. We're going to start over our eyebrows. And our affirmation is: rest is resistance. Keep breathing while you do this. Rest is resistance. No wrong way to do this, whether you started on the outer edge and came in or in and out. I've used 3 fingers. Maybe you want to use 1 or 2. Rest is resistance. The second part, we're going to tap on the side of the eye. Don't be giving me the side eye, but we're going to tap. I use one finger here again. 2 feels good. 3, you decide. We're going to do both. You may want to do both at the same time, but the side of your eye. And our affirmation here is, I breathe, I feel, I rise. Don't forget to keep breathing. I feel, I breathe, I rise. Let's piece those two together, almost like the memory game. So back to our eyebrows. Rest is resistance. Maybe you want to sigh it out. Just remember to keep breathing. Rest is resistance. Back to the side eye. I feel, I breathe, I rise. We've got 3 more places to tap. The next is under the eye. I do recommend you use your ring finger for this. This body is worth rest. This body is worth rest. This body is worth rest. So if we go back to the eyebrows, see if we can piece it together. Rest is resistance. Rest is resistance. To the side of the eye, I feel, I breathe, I rise. I feel, I breathe, I rise. Ring finger under the eye. This body is worth rest. My body is worth rest. That's important to remember because we come from a society that makes us feel as if we're not doing something, if we're not producing something, that we don't have any worth. That's so not true. Rest is our natural state. To our collarbones, my breath is my power. My breath is my power. My breath is my power. Back to above the eyebrows. Let's piece it all together. We have one more to end this section. Rest is resistance. Above your eyebrows, outer to in to out. Side eye. I said memory game, right? Side eye. I breathe. I feel. I rise. Ring finger for under the eye. This body is worthy of rest. My body is worthy of rest. Back to our collarbones. My breath is my power. My breath is my power. Finally, at the top of her head, you may want to use a soft fist. I choose calm. I choose care. I choose calm. I choose care. Release your hands. Say this aloud or to yourself. I rest. I resist. I rise. I rest. I resist. I rise. You've got 3 more things to do. The next is a journaling and a reflection. You don't need to grab your journal, just a piece of paper. Maybe you have a journal, a notebook. You can just reflect on this. We carry so much, let's put it down. Whatever we're carrying, let's put it down just for now. Prompt number 1. What part of resistance feels tiring to you? What part of resistance feels tiring to you? Anyone want to share anything in the chat? Feel free. Write it down or just think about it. I'm looking for my pen myself. What part of the resistance feels tiring to you? Other people's apathy, Caitlin said, very tiring.
Yeah, there's another person that says not being listened to.
Not being listened to, very tiring. I agree. We hear you, but I know what you mean. And the apathy can be so frustrating. Number 2, our second and last prompt. Trying to get through the MAGA family. Oh, yeah. That's tiring. Bless you for trying. Taking in the news, you know what? I can't do it like I used to. So yeah, taking in the news, very tiring. Try not to start your day with it, right? But we want to know what's going on. But try not to let it be that the first thing you feed your body with. Number 2, you're asking yourself this. I'm asking you, where do you need rest? Not more pressure. Where do you need rest? My bra strap is bugging me. Not more pressure. Where do you need rest and not more pressure? Remember, rest is resistance. Where do you need rest and not more pressure? So whether you jotted those down to reflect on later, and this can be a daily check-in because things change daily. We know with the news cycle, things change hourly. So keep those to reflect on today, this evening, wherever you are in your day. Maybe weekly, you can check in with that. Now it's time for silent rest and inner affirmation. I'm going to offer you these. I invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze if that feels comfortable. My breath steadies me. Remember, you can always access a deep inhale, sigh it out through your mouth throughout the day when things feel too much. You can do the 4-7-8 breath that we practice together or any other breathing exercise, but access your breath. My breath steadies me. Second affirmation, my body is enough. Your perfect body, just as it is, that's enough. Number 3, I don't need to earn rest. I don't need to earn rest. And lastly, everyone here on this call, I am part of something bigger. I am part of something bigger. Now let's take 30 seconds of silence. Just silence. Don't forget to breathe. Sigh it out. Now it's time for a little movement. We're going to end with the grassroots stretch. You can stay seated. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to try to stand up. Feel free to stay seated. No special equipment needed. Let's see. As I say, I'm in the dining room. Perfect. You can see me. Can you still hear me? Okay, I can use my cheerleader voice. I just realized I didn't plug in.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So, grassroots stretch. Ken Sherman used to do this. I don't know who gets the official credit for this, but it's something that you can do at your chapter meetings. The purpose is to energize, focus, and unify activists before collective action. It's about 5 minutes, but we're not going to take the whole 5 minutes. Move slowly and deliberately. And as I give you an affirmation along with the movement, repeat it silently or out loud. If you were doing this with a group at your chapter meeting or something, you all can say it out loud together. Stand tall with your feet hip width apart, or if you're seated, make sure your feet are grounded to the floor. Bend forward to touch your toes or bend as far as comfortable. Reach for the toes. You may not get there, but reach for the toes. You can't see my toes. But just reach. Relax your head and neck. Kind of hang like a rag doll. And our affirmation for bending forward, if you're seated, bend forward and touch your toes. I draw strength from the roots of our struggle. I draw strength from the roots of our struggle. From your forward fold, rise slowly, stretching your arms up over your head. I reach for justice, with open hands. I reach for justice with open hands. Your arms are stretched up, but you're going to lower them now to shoulder height. Open wide with your chest lifted. I open my heart and my mind to the voices around me. I open my heart and my mind to the voices around me. With your hands on your hips, whether you're standing or seated, feel your feet firmly on the ground. This is a strong pose. Feel your feet strongly planted on the ground. Our affirmation is, I stand grounded in purpose and unity. I stand grounded in purpose and unity. And we close with a breath of solidarity. One hand over your heart again, the other on your abdomen. Exhale, 3 deep. Inhale, access, I meant to say, access. 3 deep breaths, feeling your chest rise and fall. With each breath, I inhale courage and I exhale fear. With each breath we take every day as part of the resistance, we inhale courage and exhale fear. Thank you for resting. Thank you for resisting. If anybody would like a copy of the Grassroots Stretch for their chapter, let Angela know, and I'd be happy to get it to you. Keep making good trouble.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. Thank you so much. I know a lot of people think stuff like this is a little bit woo, but it works. It works. It really does. We have to, we have to use the powers that we have to keep ourselves in good shape, because this is a long, honestly, it's only been 6 months, but how many years does it feel like it's been?
I have Adrienne's book too, and I use it all the time. It really does help. It truly helps.
Yes.
Bless you, Anne. Thank you.
Yes, it does. So we have one last thing. Well, 1.5 last things. I just want to remind everybody that, yes, there are things that you can do. We've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about defending democracy and our resistance roundtables. And we've talked about amplifying things on social media and the indivisible, what was it? Fine line, your line in the sand program, all these things. I'll gather up all these links and be sure to share them with everybody. We've talked about about the need to volunteer, and there's volunteer opportunities at every level of Democrats Abroad. It's not you can volunteer with your local chapter, you can volunteer with your country committee, you can volunteer with, if you don't have a country committee, you can volunteer at the regional non-CC level. There are things to do. You can volunteer with our caucuses. You can volunteer with some of our teams. We have a comms team, we have data teams, we have all sorts of, we have state teams, we have every possible thing. And there's a link for volunteering. And I know people don't like this, but if you can't do any of that, can't volunteer, which, I mean, that is highly possible. Sometimes people are super busy. You can always make a donation and to help the fight, because it's going to be a big fight from the day that Trump was elected until the day that he's at The Hague or wherever we'll send him. It's going to be a big fight. I'm personally looking forward to some sort of Nuremberg style trial. Yeah, for sure. But there are so many things that everybody can do. But you got to also take care of yourself. Because if you don't, I don't even want to think about what will happen if you don't take care of yourself. But I'm going to leave you with one last thing. I'm going to have a video of John Lewis's last words. And I have to say, I watched this last night and it was a little bit overwhelming, but this man fought for his whole life. He fought for justice for his whole life. And we can do it too. You know, we're just a little rusty. That's all. And we need to practice.
While my time here has now come to an end, I want you to know that in the last days and hours of my life, you inspired me. You filled me with hope about the next chapter of the great American story when you used your power to make a difference in our society. Millions of people motivated simply by human compassion laid down the burdens of division. Around the country and the world, you set aside race, class, age, language, and nationality to demand respect for human dignity. That is why I had to visit Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, though I was admitted to the hospital the following day. I just had to see and feel it for myself, that after many years of silent witness, the truth is still marching on. Emmett Till was my George Floyd. He was my Rayshard Brooks, Sandra Bland, and Breonna Taylor. He was 14 when he was killed, and I was only 15 years old at the time. I will never ever forget the moment when it became so clear that he could easily have been me. In those days, fear constrained us like an imaginary prison, and troubling thoughts of potential brutality committed for no understandable reason were the bars. Though I was surrounded by 2 loving parents, plenty of brothers, sisters, and cousins, their love could not protect me from the unholy oppression waiting just outside that family circle. Unchecked, unrestrained violence and government-sanctioned terror had the power to turn a simple stroll to the store for some Skittles or an innocent morning jog down a lonesome country road into a nightmare. If we are to survive as one unified nation, we must discover what so readily takes root in our hearts that could rob Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina of her brightest and best, shoot unwitting concert-goers in Las Vegas, and choke to death the hopes and dreams of a gifted violinist like Elijah McClain. Like so many young people today, I was searching for a way out, or some might say a way in. And then I heard the voice of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on an old radio. He was talking about the philosophy and discipline of nonviolence. He said we are all complicit when we tolerate injustice. He said it is not enough to say it will get better by and by. He said each of us has a moral obligation to stand up, and speak out. When you see something that is not right, you must say something. You must do something. Democracy is not a state. It is an act, and each generation must do its part to help build what we call the beloved community, a nation and world society at peace with itself. Ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting in what I call good trouble, necessary trouble. Voting and participating in the democratic process are key. The vote is the most powerful nonviolent change agent you have in a democratic society. You must use it because it is not guaranteed. You can lose it. You must also study and learn the lessons of history because humanity has been involved in this soul-wrenching existential struggle for a very long time. People on every continent have stood in your shoes through decades and centuries before you. The truth does not change, and that is why the answers worked out long ago can help you find solutions to the challenges of our time. Continue to build union between movements stretching across the globe because we must put away our willingness to profit from the exploitation of others. Though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. When historians pick up their pens to write the story of the 21st century, let them say that it was your generation who laid down the heavy burdens of hate at last, and that peace finally triumphed over violence, aggression, and war. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide.
So much. And who knows what tech gremlins are out there. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming, and let's continue to make good trouble, because these fascists are bound to lose.
Yes.
They always do.
There's a lot we can do.
Yeah, thank you
Lots
all
of good
so
ideas
much.
bouncing around.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody who came.
Yeah.
Go out there and make that trouble now, huh?
Yes.
Exactly.
All right.
All right,
Y'all
everybody.
be good.
Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Good night.